I knew Sean's work, the director's work, from other films, most notably Tangerine, which I don't know whether it played here or whether you're familiar with it, but it was a film that got a lot of, it was basically a slice of life story about two transes on the street in LA. And it was shot famously with an iPhone. And that was maybe 4 or 5 years before this one, maybe 3 years before he made this one. But he's a real master at going someplace, embedding himself into the situation, getting the confidence of the people, getting the knowledge of what the world is, and then making a fiction out of what's there, but using the people that are there. For example, this hotel is a hotel that really exists. And some of the people that are in the movie are actually living there. So they really taught us, showed us how to make this movie, because it was really about their lives.
But
how Sean contacted me, I think I expressed an interest in his work. He knew that. I think he had already this part cast, and someone dropped out, I think ostensibly for a money job. And it became open, and he called me up, and I immediately wanted to do it because I liked how he works. And yeah, I thought it was interesting material, and you know, it's nice to have a film sometimes with very relevant content, because this is not invented. These places exist in Central Florida right now. And it's not so much specifically to do a didactic, you know, thing about this situation. It's more broader about, particularly in the States, sometimes there's no social safety net. So once people miss, you know, a rent payment or they get fired, there's very little to protect them from the street unless they have family to cover them. So these people are all on that edge. And, you know, it just reminds us all that we, you know, the people that have more have a responsibility to take care of the people that have less.
And that means as well that you are very curious, that you see a lot of films, that you are open to see films from unknown directors, or known but by other means and everything, you know.
I think you got to mix it up. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years. So if you keep on doing the same thing, there's a corruption is going to set in. You're going to keep on going to the same process. You're going to keep on going to the same gestures, to the same thoughts, to the same approaches. And I think you have to force yourself. It's not human nature to step out of their comfort zone. But if you're an actor, you find your comfort zone out of your comfort zone. So I think, you know, it's a way to trick myself into putting myself into a situation where I don't recognize the situation, and each time, as much as possible, it feels like the first time, which is kind of in the nature of performing anyway, because so much of performing is having an idea of, you know, a scene and then breathing life into it, inhabiting it, having an experience.
I read that you spent a week living in this place before the shooting, and you spent some time living in a fisherman for the lighthouse. And I want to know what's your process of work. When you do that, what you think, why?
You know, I didn't spend a week here. I spent 2 months in this hotel, every day going to work. Because what I did is I ran that hotel. I was a manager of that hotel, okay? I was basically doing what hotel managers do. So I was there to learn how to do that. And that was my job in the movie. And of course, the way we were shooting was, I had to know how to do those things and do them comfortably. Lighthouse, same thing. Put yourself in the world. It's not a thing to, it's whatever gives you, I try to create a parallel life that lets you have a shift of how you think, and you can apply that to being another person. You try to erase yourself, try to leave yourself behind, and sort of invent a new self in the context of what's given to you by the script and the situation. So it's a way to wipe away your life and jump into a new life. It's like taking a new job, You're going to learn new things, you're going to think differently, you're going to have different friends, you're going to have a different perspective, you're going to have a different lifestyle. That's what you do. You flirt with that kind of change.
I just want to know for you to tell more about how it was to work with kids.
Kids are great because they don't get routinized. You have to let them be kids. You have to let them play. It's not easy because they can't repeat anything, but the director was very skillful at setting up situations where they felt like they didn't have to act, they had to do things. But somehow, that's how I perform anyway. I mean, I don't think about psychology. I do think about the pace of scenes, but I really think about doing things and interacting with people, and that's what those kids are doing. Now, the truth is some are more skilled, more relaxed than others, so sometimes you have to create situations where you trick them a little bit. Make them relaxed, make them forget the camera, make them, just pretend. So it's individual to each kid. Like the kid playing Mooney, clearly she's a clever performer, she's a natural performer. But also the director is very skilled. For example, the scene, you just saw it, so you'll probably remember the scene where they're sitting and she's eating in the restaurant, and she has very funny lines. He's basically feeding her those off camera. She's doing some improvisation, but he's always feeding them. The other kids, sometimes they couldn't even look at you in the face. So you'd have to work around them. So it's tough. But the difficulties are also what's great about them. They have a kind of chaos. They don't get routinized. The big trick is make them not be little actors. You want them to be kids, not actors. And in a similar way, when you're in a movie like this, I don't want to be an actor either. I want to be a hotel manager. I want to take care of those people, and I want to, make sure that the lights are on and all those things. So we were really playing with realities. For David Lynch, Wild at Heart, I think it's fairly safe to say that there were no challenges. It was the easiest film I've ever done in the respect of I didn't stress. He's very direct. There was beautiful words of Barry Gifford. It was a lot of fun. He gave me a character that played on my imagination. I didn't do hardly any research for that. We didn't agonize over a costume or anything. He gave me a costume, said, "This is your costume." We didn't argue about it or anything. That was it. I accepted it. Also, he said, the script said the character, this is kind of in-house, because if people don't know the movie, this doesn't make much sense to them. But the big thing was, in the script, it said, the character has very bad little rotten teeth. And it just shows you that actors put limitations on themselves sometimes, because I thought, okay, so we'll just make my teeth funky, we'll put some stain on them or something. Well, when I saw David, he said he had a total vision about what this guy should look like. So he said, we got to get you to a dentist. And I said, a dentist? He said, yeah, we got to make you some dentures. And what was great about that is they made me dentures, fake teeth, that went over my real teeth. And when I put them in my mouth, over the top and the bottom, I couldn't close my mouth because they were a little oversized. So do this right now. How does it make you feel? You feel like you want something to eat. No, I mean, this guy's a sleazy guy. He's got strong desires, you know, and that, just that physical thing clicked and gave me something that was enough to send me into a place that I could act out a, you know, dark fantasy. This is really shows that people, you know, it's beneficial to the whole society if the people that have more will take care of the people that don't. These people are in a kind of hell. They're in a limbo. And it's clear that, as you see through a character like Bobby, the more he helps them, the better they are. That's all. It's really simple. I mean, it's not specifically addressing the problem, but it shows you the problem, and then you have to think about what your responsibility is towards other people.
You did so many films. Is there a special one for you?
Is this one?
Yeah.
I like this film. Let's say that. It was a good experience. I think what it expresses is very important. And it was a great opportunity to do a different kind of role and work a different kind of way. And I think Sean Baker, when I'm in his company, I'm very happy working with him. So for me, it was good.
But from the whole films you did, is there
that's
a
hard to say.
special one? Or
No, there's no special. I cannot. That would be limiting me. That would be depressing.
Hi. My name is Leo. My question is, you've obviously worked throughout your whole career with several directors, some with more experience, some with way less experience. I don't know if this question is kind of dull or not, but what is for you a great director?
That's a good question. You know, two things: passion and clarity.
And you found often that.
Well, sometimes you find it. But I say passion because, you know, if you're going to be their creature, if you're going to realize, inhabit what they're seeing, then they better care about it, and it better be important to them. And clarity, if they don't know how to arrive at that, or they don't know how to try to discover that, you know, and trying to discover is almost as good as discovering, as long as you're pointed in the right direction and you're connected to why you're doing things. That's what I look for. The worst are the guys that are the people that, you know, it's a job. It's like any occupation. If they aren't on fire, if they aren't dying to do something, then, you know, you're going to get that kind of apathy on you. If they're on fire, you're going to get on fire too.
Hi, Willem. I got a question about At Eternity's Gate. What Eternity's Gate? You played Vincent van Gogh. What method used to play someone who died like 200 years ago?
What about someone dying 200 years ago?
Vincent van Gogh.
Vincent van Gogh, what's the question?
What method you used to play him?
What method? I learned how to paint. And I was where he painted, and I had his words, because a lot of the text was taken from his letters. So I had those things, and I just tried to imagine who he was and do what he did. I copied, basically. And, you know, the truth is, there's no such thing as copying. Who was it? Who was it? Oh, there's no such thing as copying. I'm trying to think. If I remember later, I'll tell you. There's a good quote about copying. Early onset Alzheimer's.
No, é preciso carregar? First of all, thank you for being here. My question is, what challenge did you add when you were filming Pasolini. Of course, you had some challenge, but and if you find it difficult to film, and if you joined the mind of Pasolini.
I did, in the respect that I was very turned on and felt great sympathy with his writing. And when I mean his writing, I knew his movies, I knew his poetry, I knew his novels. What I didn't know, and they were probably the one thing that probably impacted me the most in doing the film, was his journalistic stuff. Because this guy was brilliant. He was a forward thinker. He saw the internet coming before the internet was there. He saw society, saw what was happening. He really was prescient in his vision. And many of the things he said were going to be happening, and he warned about, have happened, politically and socially. So he had many interesting things to say. So yes, when I said those words, I believed them absolutely. I became his representative because I believed what he said.
Just to explain, Pier Paolo Pasolini was writing almost every week or every month, I don't know, in Corriere della Sera, which is the most important newspaper in Italy. Curiously, newspaper from the right, from the Christian Democrats, and he was very linked with the left, and that doesn't mean nothing for him. And he wrote fantastic articles. They were very important, like his words in his papers in Corriere della Sera at that moment.
Thank you. First of all, it's a great pleasure to meet you. My name is Margulan. I'm from Kazakhstan. And I know that you are playing in the game Beyond Two Souls. And is there any differences between playing in movies and games?
Huge, huge. At least that one I can talk about. Because we're doing 20 pages a day.
Oh.
We're working very fast, and what we're doing is we're trying to create gestures, movement. It's material for the animators to work with. It's unlike filming because it's not finished. You're just supplying them with rough material. And what's kind of great is then you really don't worry and you feel really free, particularly emotionally, because what you're doing they won't necessarily see. But what you're doing will guide them in their animation. So if what you're doing is really true, it may look awkward or feel awkward, but if it's true, it's gold. So as an actor, it was crazy how fluid it was, because some stuff you can just sketch and you don't really have to worry about, okay, you do the actions, but emotionally, I don't know, it was fantastic. Because when you're doing games, yeah, they're just sampling. They're sampling your gestures, your expressions, your voice, and then they're making something else out of it. So, very different, very different.
So do you want to play another games?
It's got to be specific. I don't lay awake at night dreaming about it, let's put it that way.
Hi, it's an honor to have you here in our school, so thank you very much for coming. You already touched a little bit on this, on Paulo's first question. On the choice of the role, I mean, in those 40 years, you've kept an admirable independence in the choice of roles, staying out of the comfort zone, like you said yourself. And in some cases, like this, was the director and his work that attracted you. But in a script, in a character, when you read, what attracts you, what human traits or challenges attract you? Because considering this role, I was imagining that reading the first 30 pages, 40 pages, there was nothing. What did you find there other than the director's work? What did you find there that was a challenge for you?
directors and situations are very important for me, and how you're shooting. The idea that you're going to have an experience, you're going to have an adventure, and then you're going to use that for a shift in how you think, or you're going to invite something to change in you. You're going to take on a different perspective. So when I read a script, a great script is great. You know, great dialogue is great, but something about it has to give you something where you say, I want to do those things that are in the script, and if you don't know how to do them, you want to learn how to do them, because somehow the idea of learning them represents a growth or a challenge. Or, yeah, I guess that's it, because you don't know a character until you do it. And even sometimes you can do a whole movie, finish, and still not know what a character is. Much in the same way that you can be 20 years old and not know who you are. No, but I mean, really. So I think I'm a little different than most actors. Maybe this isn't true, but when I hear other actors talk, they talk a lot about script, a lot about psychology, a lot about themes. I don't think you know those things from a script. You know them more from the situation. What the proposal is for a route to discover something. And if it smells good, if it smells like there's some place to go and your life will be changed, or you'll change how you think, or you'll learn something, then I'm down. If it's with the right people, and if it's, something that calls you. It's really intuitive. But really, the simple question is, when you read a script, do I want to do these things? Yes or no?
Thank you.
There's a multitude of characters that you've played over the years, and I want to know if there was any similarities between the techniques you used to play each one, or if it was all completely different.
You recognize patterns, you recognize tendencies, but it's completely different each time, because I think each time you do a film, your job is different. Where you fit into the film. You know, you bend yourself to the film. You don't have bend the film to suit you. I mean, you can do that, and some people do that, and it can be very beautiful, but it's just not my way. I don't find that satisfying, and I'm not that kind of performer. I don't want to, I've got the classic kind of look at me, don't look at me, contradiction for being a performer. I want to lose myself in the thing. And so the question is always, how do you lose yourself and make a contact with the material that makes it lively and makes it, worth it, makes it an experience that my go-to thing is an experience that's transparent enough that an audience can experience it with you. You don't tell them anything. You don't show them anything. You offer yourself up to a situation, and hopefully you're not hiding, you're being open, even if it's a role that's filtered through many layers of mask or whatever. Still, you try to give them something that's true about your contact with that scenario. So whatever that takes, sometimes you have to do a lot of research because you don't know anything, or you have to learn a vocation in order to feel comfortable doing the things that you have to do. And sometimes, like the David Lynch, you just need a trigger that makes you into a character. I mean, everybody, with your family or something, probably has like imitations they can do or jokes to tell, things that you do that you perform for people in your inner circle. Yeah, you got to find that trigger. You got to find that impulse. Yeah. Yeah. Or yes, we haven't had a woman in a while. I mean, we haven't had a woman asking a question in a while.
Thank you. It's a big pleasure to see you live. I have three little questions, short questions. First question is, with whom you want to be a partner in film? And second, about short film Smile. How it's born? And third question is about, we all know that you played Norman Osborn in Sam Raimi's trilogy, yes? It's a superhero movie. And this summer, Martin Scorsese said that superheroes movie, it's not so serious. And what do you think about it?
I think there's room for all kinds of movies. I had a great time in Spider-Man. Smile was a short film that a lot of people probably don't know. It's a short film. It was a friend, was taking young filmmakers. They were submitting screenplays to him and then getting actors to be in them so they could basically make these small films in practice. And it was funded by a liquor company because they could put their advertisement on it and then they'd put it on YouTube, that sort of thing. So it was good because it was a way, they'd give them a crew, they'd give them a budget, and they'd give them an actor. So that year, I did 3 short films. And Smile was a Russian guy. He was very precise. And if you go online and you see Smile with my name, you may see it. The last question was?
With whom you want to be a partner?
It's always changing. Yeah. Yep, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
What would you say to someone that wants to be a filmmaker or an actor in the future? Yeah.
Start making movies. No, I mean really. Because now you have the technology that, for example, you have the technology that you can shoot it with a phone. You can practice. You can get your friends together. And you'll find out whether you really like it. You may not like it. Do what's possible. Or be around people that you admire. Even if you're doing menial tasks, at least you're around them. I really believe in apprenticeship. I come from the theater. I still work in the theater, but I had a company for almost, 27 years. And the way I started there was doing very small roles and working as a carpenter. And I was around these people that I admired, and they stimulated me. And then slowly, like anything, you start to work yourself into the fabric of the company. And then I started doing more things, and then more things. And then, it's like that. I think that's organic, and it's also, it's organic, and you're growing into it. I think that's probably good, unless someone really has a really good question and they're dying to ask it. Okay, are a lot of you students or what? Yeah, and film students? Oh, cool. Is this a good film school? You're a little slow. How many professors are here? Okay, one more. You, man. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for your presence. I just wanted to ask, when Shane Baker approached you with the project, what did he say, what is the film about, and how did he convince you to be part of the project?
He didn't need to convince me. He just told me that he showed me support materials, he showed me the hotel. He said, I'd like you to meet with a guy that's a good model, a good example of this character that I kind of based part of it on. Basically that. I knew his work. He basically invited me. He didn't have to convince me. So that's nice, He's like, I need you to do this. And I said, okay, I need some interesting work. I'll go with you. Like that. Okay, thanks so much. Take care. And best of luck with your film.